being out and being a part of a little evening chat and reflecting on self-care. And these slumber parties have been part of a whole program I do over the summer. This is the second summer we've done it. It's a free program just called Sexy Self-Care Summer. That's about kind of meeting people where they're at in the summer and
Mm.
like keep nourishing yourself, over the course of the summer, even though it can be sometimes a hard time to do self-care work or like self work. So yeah, they've been really fun and I like that they're giving um thanks, Mercy. That they're giving an opportunity for me to have some conversations that maybe like are a little off the topic of money, which is, fun for me because, it's always fun to like mix it up and get to just talk out
Yeah,
different stuff. So,
I
um,
agree.
do you want to give us a little introduction, introduce yourself?
Sure. What version will I give today? Um, yeah, we'll find out. So my name is Clancy Miller. I am a writer and pastry cook and author of the book For the Culture, Phenomenal Black Women and Femmes in Food. Um, which has been nominated for a James Beard Award and an IACP award. I found out yesterday. I trained as a pastry chef in Paris at Le Cordon Bleu, Paris, and worked in pastry shops and pastry kitchens, and then started writing about food. And I've written for a lot of big publications and small, the New York Times, Washington Post, Bon Appetit, Cherry Bomb, many others. I started a magazine called For the Culture, Phenomenal Black Women and celebrating phenomenal Black women and femmes in food and wine. And yeah, that's so I write about food and I cook. That's the
Dreamy,
short
I think,
part.
yeah. And I met you originally. I wish I could remember the year. I could probably if I like really spent a few minutes thinking about it. Do you know what year it was?
I feel like it was 2017 or 2018 at Maha Rose.
Yeah, when I was teaching a workshop in New York and I live in San Francisco. So, but I was in New York teaching and yeah, Clancy came to a workshop and
It was
that
so
was
awesome.
earlier, earlier on. I'm at oh my God, you're so scandalous. Sorry, my dog is like mostly using me to steal this apple core that she's now eaten the rest of. Okay.
Hilarious.
It's food themed, I guess. You're on theme. Um Yeah, that was like definitely earlier on. I feel like when I was kind of going out and teaching more, I don't know, just more like around and just spreading the word. So it's always been a sweet connection. I like being internet friends with you. And then I was so excited to get to go to your book event in San Francisco this
Oh my gosh.
when it's this year, it was this
That
year.
was insane. It was in October. It was like October 2nd.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
why did I feel like it was the summer? But okay, because it still feels a little summery here, I think,
Yeah.
usually that time of year. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I was really happy to see you in person. It was such a really beautiful gathering. And I bought two copies of your book, both as gifts, and I already gifted one. She loved it. And then the second one is like
Yay.
for my goddaughter, but she's a little too young to appreciate it. So I'm gonna hold on to it for her for a while. But I'm
Nice.
excited. Yeah, congratulations on your big week, and I'm glad you're having
Thanks.
receiving the fruits of your labor.
It's nice. I feel like I planted some seeds. You know how sometimes, I guess that's a big part of life, but sometimes you're planting seeds and you don't even kind of realize it, that like beyond the product coming out or the business launching or the fill in the blank, it's like, oh, this actually, you might still get some goodies, like beyond the initial launch or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So it's been a nice, happy surprise.
I actually sort of, I don't know, not cite you, but use you as an example often because of this very specific thing. Because I really remember during Shelter in Place, you have another cookbook that you wrote that's like about cooking for one person, I think. I don't, do you
Hmm.
want to say what it's called or?
It's Cooking Solo, The Joy of Cooking for Yourself.
And I remember you saying like during Shelter in Place, it's like it was a book you had written. What year did that book come out?
20, 2016.
Okay, so I'm sure, it's like you had the experience of your book coming out. I'm not sure, how it did or, but and then it just kind of sits for a while where I'm sure, you keep selling copies, but it's not like bestseller nonstop 4 years in a row or anything like that. But then you had this moment
Yeah.
during Shelter in Place where it's like it became really relevant again, and you were like in the New York Times, right, with your cookbook. Or I just feel like you had like
Yeah.
this little moment, and I think of it about it a lot because of like my
Mm.
feelings about my own book, and just bring it up as this example of the way that you can like make something and not necessarily know like what the life of it will be or when it will circle back and be relevant. So just so you know, you kind of live in my head in a
Aw.
really like special place for holding the thread of that. So I'm glad that it seems to be a thread that's kind of following you through your career and through your life.
I, you know, from your lips to God's ears, I like that. I do feel like it's a whole thing of planting seeds. Like whatever you make, you never know how it will proliferate in the world. Um, so that's a nice thing. Yeah. Yay. Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to live in your head.
Oh yeah. So many things live there, and you're definitely one of the nice ones. So that's good. Um, how have you been? Well, let's just start small. What's like a couple of your favorite little self-care things that you're doing for yourself on the day-to-day basis these days?
On the day-to-day basis, um, okay, this is like maybe it's not a deep dive, but like self-pleasuring,
Hmm.
um, dance, listening to music, and kind of going slowly, like allowing myself to have some spaciousness with time. Um, yeah, those are some basics. And spending time in parks.
Hmm.
Yeah, like spending time really trying to be intentional about spending time outside and like soaking in the fact that it is sunny and there are blue skies and it's really lovely to be outside.
Yeah, you're a city girl, so you have to really chase it, probably.
You got to embrace it while it's here. It's just like get in there, whatever, if it's the beach, if it's a park, if it's like hiking, whatever it is, like get that outdoor time.
Yeah, I feel that it's easy to just spend all day in the house and like not, I don't know, just like not even register there's an outside unless you live in a, place that has more of a yard, or you live a little more rurally where you're walking from building to building, or you're walking out to the whatever to get something. So, um, I love that, staying in touch with nature. And I love that you're listening to music as self-care. You were saying before everyone came in that you took a train today, the Amtrak from New York to Philly, and just decided like what I'm going to do on the train is I'm just going to listen to music.
Hmm. Totally. I love listening to music, period. Like I love going to live shows. I love just having music on, but sometimes as a writer, I will have periods where I'm like, oh, I need silence for this, or I need to focus, and I don't know if music's going to help me focus. And so sometimes I have to remind myself, like, oh no, let's put on music, or like, I'm done focusing on that. Now I can just kind of have music I want to listen to. Um, and I recently visited a friend in London. She had invited me to come out and do a picnic to celebrate James Baldwin's 100th birthday.
So
And it
special.
was such a special moment, so incredibly special. I'm so grateful she invited me. But like she had these amazing playlists on all the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have a constant vibe like all day long. And it reminded me that like, I mean, I already listened to music, but it kind of, because she's also a writer. So I was like, I'm gonna put music on even more. Like as
Yeah.
many moments as I can find, I'm gonna have music on. And today it totally like I was telling you, I was a little stressed out because it's been a slightly stressful week. And the music just changed my headspace completely. It was really nice.
I also cannot listen to music and think. I can't do it. If
Yeah,
I need to write a paragraph, I'm just like, okay, I have to stop it. I love
totally.
the different, like our brains are also different, you know. My son like has to have music on to do his homework and stuff, but I'm like, I can't. I don't know. It takes part of my brain.
Yeah, I like I sometimes can do this is not a regular thing, but sometimes I can do movie soundtracks.
Mm.
Like The Hours is oddly like kind of a good soundtrack for writing because it's just classical, no, like it's kind of like it's very not a lot is well, a lot is happening, but it's not distracting for me.
Yeah.
But I can only do that when I'm like editing. You know what I mean?
Okay. Uh-huh.
Like not for the first thoughts coming out, but for like the third draft.
Totally. Yeah. More of like a task than a thinking thing in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do a task. I made a commitment of my business coach that I was working with the last couple of years. She really was like pushing me to much higher levels of self-care. And
Mm.
I um so she would kind of like make me ask me periodically, like, okay, how are you going to do this? What are you going to do? And one of the commitments I made was like a half an hour a day. I'm just gonna like vibe. I'm just gonna vibe in my house. And I was like, I think a lot of people do this like all the time or regularly, but I was like, I really don't. I'm very like, okay, I'm getting stuff done or I'm, thinking and transforming and there's a lot of cool things that go on in my life that are like spiritual and creative and interesting, but I'm kind of much more intense about it. It's not just that, like, let's make the space nice. Let's just, light a candle, light some incense, and just like put on music that I like and just kind of enjoy the way that the space feels. So I'm definitely a fan of like carving out more space to just take kind of like vibrational pleasure almost, I guess, is what music.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
totally. Like just being present with it.
What kind of dancing do you like to do?
It depends. Recently, I've been doing West African and Caribbean dance classes. I also experimented with a pole dancing class, which I
Mhm.
loved, and hope to like get back to. And then there's a really great teacher. I think his name is Alex Cohen. He does he's based in LA, but he does these pop-up dance classes in New York called Intro to Pop Star Dance.
So
And
fun.
like you'll dance to like Rihanna or Britney Spears or Lady Gaga. And the whole idea is just for you to like kind of pretend like you're a pop star for 90 minutes. It's really great.
That sounds really, really fun. I noticed
It
class in
is. It is.
Oakland that was like they do some kind of like pop, and there was one that's like specifically for like thicker bodies. It was, I don't remember. They had a really great name for it. I was like, oh, I want to take this class. That looks really, really fun. Um, can I ask
Yeah, I
like,
like to
oh,
pop around. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
When you are, well, here's the first question. I heard you identify yourself as a writer, or I heard you identify your friend, right, as a writer and say like she's also a writer, right? So in that you're identifying yourself as a writer. Has that been more of a recent, I guess, like how long has that been sort of like an affinity and identity? Is that something that developed on the same timeline as your chefing career and your like relationship with food? Or is it something where it's like you were doing food, you decided to make a cookbook or got asked to make a cookbook and wrote it and then started identifying as a writer?
Um, I think I've been identifying as a writer for a long time, uh, prior to writing a cookbook, because I've been writing for a long time, probably since I was a teenager. Like I wrote for the high school newspaper. I always took creative writing classes. I went to like journalism summer camp as a high
Oh,
schooler.
yeah, that's major.
Yeah,
Okay, so you were really
yeah,
like in the writing lifestyle.
yeah. And I think I think I absorbed from like as a kid, as a teenager, taking classes and being exposed to like adult professional writers. I absorb people saying that, right, you are a writer, like,
Mm.
and that can be if you have a blog, if you are publishing for your high school newspaper, like take ownership of the fact that this is something you regularly do. So I've thought of myself as a writer for a while, but also after culinary school, I was working in, well, a pastry shop and then like a three-star Michelin restaurant. And at a certain point, I realized like this isn't sustainable for me physically. And I was extremely young. I was like 25 years old. And I was just like, and I realized that I was young. And I was like, if I am feeling this way physically, like knees hurting at this young age, like, how am I going to last? Like, even 10 years. Um, so at a certain point, I ended up getting a job at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris in their recipe development department. And I was learning how to write recipes, and I was writing for the school and for their publications, and I kind of intentionally was looking for that because I realized I don't think I can do a professional kitchen for a long period of time, but there's a way for me to use the knowledge I've gained, and writing is a way for me to use, like, it's a transferable skill that will allow me to apply a lot of the things I've learned, or can be a means of me being engaged with food, but just not in a kitchen. Instead, I'm going to write about food.
I love that combination. I mean, it almost makes me like hearing the full story. It makes me almost want to ask the question the opposite way, which is then, okay, you grew up really like with writing as a part of your life. Was the food part always a part, or was that a like a later in life addition?
The food part was definitely always part of my life, just because like I grew up in a restaurant loving home. Like both my parents, my mom passed last year, but she was an amazing cook. So I always ate well. My dad's a good cook. We always went out to restaurants a lot. Like I grew up thoroughly enjoying like good food, whether at home or out at a restaurant. And yeah, but I didn't necessarily think that food was going to be the main focus for a while. Like I wasn't like a little kid who thought, oh, I'm going to be a chef. Although, because I loved restaurants so much at a certain point, maybe as like a teenager or like in college, I was like, it would be cool to own a restaurant. But I didn't really think about it super hard.
And I can, I know that you're at your dad's house and I was admiring all the books. So it's like we also know that you come from like a family of readers. And do they write? Is there like other writers in your family too?
Um, I mean, my dad's a minister in the Episcopal Church, and he refers to himself as a preacher. And he's always kind of practicing sermons on people, like usually about political matters. Uh, Palestine is always an issue that we talk about, but like so he, in some of his sermons begin as things that he writes,
Yeah.
but so I don't think of him as a writer, but I think a lot of his work actually involves writing, like to get from the page to the oratory aspect involves
Yeah.
writing for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was thinking that like as an orator, you really have to, unless you're performing other people's works, you really do.
Yeah.
It's like being a poet. If you're like a performing poet, it's like the writing is one piece and then the performance aspect is another piece or the delivery
Yeah.
aspect.
Totally. Yeah. And then I should also say, like, so I wear more than one hat as a writer. I also do writing, like kind of my bread and butter and stability and good health insurance job is writing for fundraising.
Mm.
And that I am literally a writer. Like I write proposals and stewardship reports. So it's an entirely different kind of writing, but it's the same, using the same muscle, so to speak.
Yeah, you're writing a lot. Like
I
you're
write
spending
a
a
lot.
lot of time writing.
I write all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like it took for me, even though I am a writer and I think I've been writing for a long time in varying capacities, it wasn't something that I had a lot of focus on. And I feel like for me, I have to remember to add writer on to what I do because I'm like, I published a book. I also have like another little like self-published book, and I'm like, I published two books. Like I can say like I am a writer, like I have pieces in anthologies. I have to remember to be like, you're also a writer. Like say that you're a writer. So it's been like
Yeah.
a little bit later of a claim, but I I love it. I love to write. It's such
That's
a, do you write
awesome.
for
Yeah.
self-care too? Do you journal or are you like, I'm done writing?
I think, it's funny. I used to journal very, like, kind of prolifically, especially when I was like a teenager. And there have been moments in my life when I've been very into journaling, but yeah, the more recent years, it's like I'm good. Like I'll jot down things, like happy memories or like if I'm in a bad mood, but it's kind of, it's less prolific and it's very sporadic and it's, yeah, because it used to be at least a nightly thing or at least a weekly thing. Now it's a when I get the chance and I have a free notebook, you know?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
and when you're talking about like the things that you do for self-care, it's like a lot of really like body, somatic kind of just like let's actually get into a different part of our brain where we're not like
Yes.
analyzing and processing words and thoughts so intensely, but just allowing energy to like move in different ways through your spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good balance. Um, do you feel like you need to do different self-care when you're in the midst of writing a book? Like you've kind of had two
Mm.
whole processes, of doing that. Um, and I, and or knowing what you know now, like do you feel like if you wrote a third book, you would kind of create a specific or more intense like self-care regimen around how to take care of yourself
Mm.
during that creation period?
That's a great question. I think um what I would love to do for book number 3, I would like to there was a period of time when I used to do a lot of strength training, like I did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
weightlifting, and I would love to get back into that either on my own or with a trainer, like because I actually enjoyed that. And then be also very, I don't want to say disciplined because that sounds unfun, but like I would like to have more of a committed schedule for dance.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I have found movement is very helpful for me. Like it helps me with my mood. It helps me, honestly, it helps me with my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel good when I'm like, regardless of what it is, it can be dance class, it can be walks in the park, it can be whatever. But like, I know that to be true, that like when I'm, bopping around with my body and with other people, that feels really good to me. So like having that be kind of more a part of my regular schedule while writing a book, I think would be amazing. The My book For the Culture I wrote mostly at the height of the pandemic. So it was like 2021 and 2022. And so I was still kind of inside outside, you know what I mean? So like a lot of my routine, I mean, I think most of us experience routines kind of going up into the air or like being turned upside down. So I was still in that upside down place of like, what do I like, what do my days even look like? You know what I mean? So I definitely was not doing dancing on a regular basis. I definitely was not doing anything like strength training. I was spending time in parks. My first book, Cooking Solo, I did a lot of dance and it was great and I loved it. So yeah, that's what I would like to for book number 3. It would be really fun to do more dance, like 2 to 3 times a week, and like play with weights. And I had a period of time when I did acupuncture a lot and I loved it. And I would love to get back into having like a weekly or twice a month acupuncture thing just because I enjoyed it. But
Okay, this
yeah,
is
and
the
then the
official
other stuff
self-care.
is kind of,
This is the official self-care routine then. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think that would be fun. That's like, I guess, a goal I just stated that I didn't even know. But yeah, I would love to have those things support me during a large writing project.
Do you experience it as, I know a lot of people when they're doing like a big creative project, whether that's a business launch or a book or, anything, like they really go through kind of like a birth journey, like a physical journey and feel, really like transform or become more internal. Do you feel like you've had notable experiences in writing your 2 books?
Um, yeah, I think there's definitely, I would like to be a mom. I don't have a human child right now, but like I do think, so I'm saying without having that experience, I do
Totally.
think there is like a parallel because so much of who you are, depending upon the book, but I think for a lot of people, there's so much of who you are that goes into making a book. It really does feel like your DNA is going into this thing that other people are going to interact with. And so that can be really, you can have like some ecstatic feelings of like, it's very exciting, but then it's also really draining because it's like you're literally taking a lot out of yourself to create this other thing. And then you're really excited when it's out, but then it's also there, it can kind of be a little bit of a downer, not a downer. It's mostly pure excitement, but like then you have to transition into like promoting this thing. So you have to pivot energetically to, I don't know, like making this thing shine in the world. And that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of, I think it becomes both like a maternal journey and like the hero's journey. And it's, yeah, there are a lot of feelings that go with it. It's a roller coaster, basically.
Makes me think too. I haven't really thought of that, like the postpartum stage of a creative project or of a book, but it's such a vastly different experience and skill set to make a thing or make a creative project, right? Like to write a book is like very personal. I do know this particular book, and we'll get into talking about it a little bit more, but this particular book has like a lot of interviews, and I'm the process of it seems like it must have been more collaborative and more engaged with people than maybe like your average book project is. But writing a book is very private, really. And it does
Mm.
require a lot of solitude. But then you're responsible for like stewarding this thing out in the world and kind of like facilitating other people's relationship with it and making um, like allowing it to be successful, helping it to be successful. And it is kind of the same with like human pregnancy, where it's like there's this very intense, personal, private process that really doesn't involve anyone else. But then your job totally switches into like helping this thing succeed in the world rather than creating it.
Yeah, it's very strange because you go for, and here again, I don't even have the experience to accurately make the metaphor, but like the metaphor almost ends because you go from being an author, which is totally solitary, I think, generally speaking, to then you are the publicist, you are the talent because, you're going to be interviewed, you might be on TV, like you're the person talking. So publicist, talent, event producer, because you're going to have to do events to make the thing like get celebrated. Then you also kind of become a party promoter to make sure everybody comes to the party that you have organized. And like, then you're also like the venture capitalist because you have to fund all of this stuff. And so, and depending upon whether or not you have an assistant, you are like the talent, the manager, and the assistant. So you end up in all of these different roles, like having just pivoted from just writing, So it's like, it's a lot. It's fun and exciting. But then, like, after you do all of that, let's say after the first 30, 60, 90 days, it's kind of, there's an exhaustion period because you've like been on and celebrating and doing the things and introducing your book to all these people. And it's been great, but it's also, you're one human being. So there's that part too.
I would imagine that the kind of like this celebration and promotion period was bigger for your second book than for your first book. Is that true? I don't feel like I was like around observing you when your first book was coming out.
Yeah. So my first book, I got a much smaller advance, like very small. So there wasn't much of a budget to do that much. I did 2 events in New York and an event in Seattle, and that was it. Um, and then for this book, I got a larger advance, and that allowed me to like hire a PR firm and just do much more. I could actually afford to have a book tour because the publishing house was not going to fund that, but I
No, they
had
not.
enough money so that I could do. Yeah, it was very disappointing. But, I knew that from my experience with my first book, I had certain goals of things I wanted to do. So I set aside money so that I could do those things. And that helped a lot.
Um, did you find that writing the second book was a lot more collaborative process because of the interviewing, or did it also feel private?
It was somewhat collaborative in a wonderful way because I was constantly having conversations with people. So in that sense, it's 66 interviews. So scheduling 66 interviews, having
That's
66 conversations,
so many interviews. Like,
so
it's
many
so
interviews.
many interviews.
So like that was the best part, just talking with people. I love that. And hearing people's stories, that's like my favorite thing is to hear somebody tell me their story, especially their like work life stories and wisdom that they've gleaned. And like, I just really get into that. But so that part felt definitely collaborative. But then there's the admin part that I was doing on my own, which is constantly reaching out to people. And these are all very dynamic, very busy people who have kids and run businesses and have, like, just like everybody else, full-fledged lives with a whole bunch of things going on. So having to even just reach out to them to schedule the time became an exercise. And when you're doing that with 66 people, that was the part that definitely felt very solitary. And I was like, oh, I should have budgeted enough so I could hire an assistant to help me, like, with this part. But that part felt very solitary because it felt very labor intensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do your interviews like pretty much all over Zoom, or was there any traveling and like actually interviewing people in person?
There was a little bit of travel, but it was mostly Zoom. Some like for people who live in New York, some people I would meet them for lunch or something like that. But the majority of the interviews were definitely over Zoom or like phone calls.
And I sort of want to go back to like the first book because I'm curious, I'm sort of poised to say like, oh, I wonder if this second book felt more personal or felt more like you were putting your DNA into it just because
Mm.
it's much uh not that to say in a hierarchical sense, but it's more than a cookbook, right? Like it has multiple different aspects. It is a cookbook. It's also like a strong piece of like just cultural witnessing and documenting, and like you really had to do so many jobs beyond the jobs that you're talking about. That's like, yes, when you have a small business, you're doing like, these 7 jobs that you've already named. But in order to do this book, you had to interview, you had to write, you had to write the other pieces like the introduction and make everything sew together. And I know that you collected recipes from other people, but I'm assuming there was testing or, helping people format them into like using your skill set around recipe writing. So I don't know, like it seems just like this huge process of, there's all the illustration. I'm sure you consulted on that and we're checking. It seems like a really in-depth, like personal process, but it was making me think with the first book, like I could also see a book about cooking solo. Was that born out of personal emotions? Was that born out of like a self-care process and a kind of like journey about, being independent or solitude or like feeding yourself and like being dedicated to nourishing yourself individually? Like I could also see where that could be very personal.
Yeah. So the cooking solo book actually came from a really joyful place. My time in Paris when I went to Le Cordon Bleu. It was my first.
Oh, your sound just cut out. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so when I went to culinary school, it was my first time living completely on my own, like not at my parents' house, no college roommates, la la la. And I was also in Paris, which has really gorgeous markets on a regular basis. And so a lot of my cooking was really just based on exploring the city, because one of the things that the chef teachers were constantly telling us was go out and eat, like eat with your eyes, go explore the patisserie, go explore all the bakeries, go explore everything, explore the markets, cook with different things. So that was me, being like a very young 20 something, living on my own for the first time, cooking for myself, and B, just getting to know this city and getting to know all of the different food that was available and kind of different, or at least presented differently than what I was used to. So it was about like the adventure of exploring, and caring for yourself via that exploration with food. Um, and of course, I went out a lot and I entertained a lot, but I also had a lot of it was my first time having really sweet moments with myself, making something that I was interested in making. So that was very, very personal. And it didn't even though obviously the title is Cooking Solo, I didn't approach food at that time from a place of solitude. It was more from a place of exploration
Mm.
and having private moments with food, because I did have lots of moments with food with my friends. I did have lots of like wonderful romantic moments with food with different partners, but I also for the first time got to make my own versions of chicken soup or like duck confit or all these different things. So that book came out of that experience.
And simultaneously, you were like learning this skill set about developing recipes, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you feel like once you learned how to develop recipes, like now when you cook something, is there a part of your brain that kind of automatically like writes a bit of a recipe while you're going?
Not really. I think sometimes I'll make something. So I'm a repeat cooker. Like I make the same thing for a while if I like it. And or if I'm trying to figure out how to how can I make this better? Like this summer I've been making lobster pasta salad almost nonstop, but I make it differently every time. And so I'm kind of like, all right, when I find something I like, how can I make this better so that I can turn it into a recipe? You know what I mean? Like it's not that I'm writing the recipe as I cook. I'm just thinking like the first time I make it, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time, okay, what was the best version of this? And how can I include that version in the version I'm making so that eventually this could be a proper recipe?
Do you feel like recipes or like cooking a dish gets to a point where you're like, this is so good, it's like ready to be a recipe? Or do you feel like something, I guess like what makes a good dish a good recipe, because there's so many things that are great to cook, like do they all translate, to being recipes, or is there like some kind of like star quality that like a dish needs to have in order to really like make a good recipe?
I think it's fun for me because like what under the sun is original when it comes to a meal? You know what I mean? Like cookies have been made for a very long time. Like almost everything we eat has been made many times over by so many people, perhaps all over the world. Um, but I think it's fun when I come up with something that feels different. Like I know it's not the first time this was made, but I feel like, oh, I think I just put my stamp on it. You know what I mean? Like this isn't the world's first chocolate chip cookie, but I like what I did here. Or you know what I mean? Or ditto with the pasta salad. Like, oh, this I've literally made this 30 times, but this might just be my signature. So I feel like when you have recognized that, like, oh, you really did put your twist on it, and it obviously like has to taste amazing, like, oh, okay, this might be ready. This could very well be ready to be a recipe.
What did you learn about lobster pasta salad this summer?
I've learned don't go too crazy with the citrus.
Hmm.
Also, don't go too crazy with the like because I've done a version with like a vinaigrette as opposed to citrus, and it's like, don't want to really use too much vinegar either, but like I'm still honestly trying to nail the acidic part because I think it's nice to have some acid. I have learned herbs are great, like using lots of fresh herbs, so delicious. You can't go wrong.
Do you feel like with citrus, because I sometimes I feel like too much juice, especially lemon for some reason is just not the thing. So I'm always like, okay, if I want more lemon, let me do zest. Let me like use that
Yes.
and juice. Is there anything else we should know about citrus? And like, do you ever use like citrus oil or like
Yes.
what else is good?
Yes. Yeah, well, what you just said, I think a nice little layering is good, like juice, zest, like the citrus oil, like a combination, so to speak. Or also like just oops, tasting as you go. Um, I think can be really fun. And then like tasting as you go and realizing like, okay, this needs more this. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Wait, you kind of do. Yeah,
Are we back?
yeah, I
Okay.
think.
Okay. We can hear you. There's a little like warble on occasion, but we can hear you solidly.
Okay.
Um,
Yay.
I sort of recently, like the last year, have pulled out a pasta salad recipe from my childhood that is just like very, suburban pasta salad recipe. But I've been making it a lot and I'm like, oh, actually this is solid. I love it. It's salmon pasta salad, but like with canned salmon.
I
Um,
love that.
and it's like it's a hit. Everybody loves it. And I knew it when like my son who's 14 and my goddaughter who's 12, who I didn't think would like it, they were like, this is so good. Everyone was like eating. I just made it as kind of like a backup thing, like, well, I'll make it, who knows? I like it, so I'll eat it. And then everyone in the family was like, including the kids, were like, "Oh, we really like this." And I was like, "Oh, okay. If the kids like it, it's a smash hit. It's a smash sensation." So, I love it. And I also altered it. I put a lot of fresh herbs, which is not what my mother did growing up in the, 90s or whenever she was making it, but I've started adding a lot of, yeah, like fresh dill, fresh parsley, fresh green onion, and I definitely think fresh herbs can make many a dish.
I want that recipe.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna just say it. I'm when people ask for a recipe, I'm like, okay, I'll tell you. I'm like, I'll tell you right now, or I'll make you a little card. Do you have a recipe card box?
I don't, but I would love a card. I'll start a recipe box.
Okay. I might even have an extra box around. I love a recipe card box. It's like I grew up, my mom was a big cook when I grew up. I also went to culinary school and then totally, but I didn't use it. Anyway,
Oh,
that's a long story. I'll circle back to that. But I grew up with my mom cooking a lot, just for family stuff and also for the church that we were like pretty active in a Unitarian church when I was growing up, and cooking for like, oh, they're going to do an event where they sell food, so we have to make like 100 baked potatoes and the toppings or whatever, like things that were going to happen. But my mom definitely like had her recipe card box with the dividers, that divides it by category, and so I've always had one. I love it.
I love that.
So I would love to send you a card. Um, okay,
Yeah.
but the pasta salad recipe is just shells, like medium shells. And then really it's just mayo because it's like a white lady suburban recipe from the 90s. Like I'm like, it's just mayo, really. But
I
it's
love
like
it.
I'd be like mayo, salt, pepper, like I don't know. I just open the pantry and kind of like whatever, lemon zest for sure. Sometimes a little lemon olive oil, and then like fresh dill, fresh parsley, and frozen peas that you put in like right at the end of the shells cooking. It's like peas, canned salmon, sort of just like a mayonnaise-y, lemony vinaigrette, and then yeah, the herbs. It's so good. Oh, and chopped red onion,
Yum. I
which I'm
love the
experienced.
peas.
I love the peas. Plus like peas and shells, they do like the box mac and cheese, you got to do the shells and then with the peas because the pea like tucks into the shell. I personally think that's very important. Eliza, I'm glad you agree.
Love.
Texture is very important to me in food. Um, but yeah, it's a good one. It's fun. It's fun to have a pasta salad recipe. I don't know why I ignored pasta salad for so long. It just seemed kind of like, I don't know, pasta salad, but I was like, actually, pasta salad's delicious.
It's so good. So good. And important
Yeah, say more. I'm like saying,
because it's easy.
yeah,
It's not a hard thing to make. And I feel like it's one of those easy things that can please a lot of people and can low key be like a great meal, like it's not fancy and that's the point. It's easy, it's delicious. Chances are everybody will like it.
I think too. I mean, you're in New York. It is hot. Like there's a part of the year where you're like, I'm not eating hot food. Like we're not making spaghetti for dinner.
Yes,
In the Bay,
totally.
I can make spaghetti
Totally.
right now. It's probably 60 degrees out, it would like not be an issue. But pasta salad can really play that like summer role.
It's perfect. I think it's one of the perfect foods in the world or perfect meals.
Yeah. You can also make it ahead of time. It's something that I've made a few weekends, like I made some on Pride weekend or whatever, where I'm sort of like, I want to make something that can live in the fridge and anyone could open the fridge and take out a Tupperware and just say, like, I'm going to eat a bowl of food right now from this.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
What
so
are your
good.
other perfect foods?
Oh my God. Um, Foods that I don't make, like I don't, well, I sometimes make pizza, but I consider pizza perfect food
Yeah.
for specific occasions. Um, this is random, but it's summer. Corn on the cob, I think, is kind of
Mm.
like a very satisfying, perfect food, or like, I don't know, tomato salads and tomato sandwiches, like perfect. I'm very into summery things right now. Um, Lobster rolls, kind of perfect for me. Cookies, most cookies, especially chocolate chip cookies, like certain things are just, I'm good. Like they might not be a meal, like a chocolate chip cookie is not a meal, but it is a perfect thing for me.
Mhm. It's complete. It's whole unto itself. I
Yeah, it's like I am happy. I'm gonna eat this and be very happy.
I love to. I feel like it's very summery, like you're saying, all the foods you're thinking about right now are really like painting like a really good kind of New England summer energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like, oh, I don't know, they conjure up moments for me. Again, probably because it's summer and it's like, oh, things that make you happy. Oh,
Um,
there's a question about seasonality.
yeah, KT was asking, can you share more about how seasonality influences your cooking? And I would just say, like, witnessing and noticing you in this moment, it feels clear that just even what comes to mind, like your mind is so kind of like focused on the moment, on the season a little bit.
Well, I have a pretty basic approach. Like I'll go to Union Square Market, which is probably the biggest farmers market in Manhattan. And I just kind of walk around and see what looks good. And so this time of year, there are going to be lots of tomatoes. There's going to be lots of like zucchini and corn. And, there will be bushes of basil. And so I basically just like to let my eyes wander and then make stuff with what I bought. Like, so I've been doing, and so in addition to the lobster pasta salad, I've been doing a lot of things with like corn and tomatoes and fresh herbs. And I don't really do a caprese salad. I think maybe the corn takes the place of the mozzarella, but like sometimes I'll add mozzarella, but like tomatoes, corn, lots of herbs. Sometimes I'll throw in some grilled zucchini. So just kind of playing around with different whatever I see at the market, playing doing different permutations of preparing those things, you know. But I pretty much literally let the farmer's market guide me. Like, and I will generally end up buying like 4 or 5 different things and let those be the star of what I make. So maybe it's peaches, maybe it's like a peach apricot corn tomato salad, or maybe it's a peach tomato mozzarella basil salad, or you know what I mean? But just kind of like, oh, how would this taste with that? It's like musical chairs with food, kind of.
Mhm. Do you
Yeah.
try to go to the farmer's market every week?
I try to. Yeah, I try to go. Um, I have like a physical therapy appointment every Wednesday, and that's a farmer's market day. So I'll try to go like after that appointment on Wednesdays or on Fridays, or sometimes if I'm really lucky, Wednesday and Friday.
Beautiful. I think that's like a dream for a lot of us, but yeah, such a
Yeah,
beautiful way to kind of check in with like what's going on. What's going on? What is
totally.
and because we wouldn't know going to the grocery store necessarily like what's in season.
Yeah, and I will say this, I probably do it more than in the summertime than any other time. Like in the summer, because I just find it really fun. And I love, especially on the East Coast, like we it's not like California. We don't have all the good things all the time. So in the summer, it's like, oh, I hit the jackpot. You know what I mean? I still try to go like in the fall and winter, but it's kind of more sporadic. But in the summer, it's kind of like a treat. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
going to the beach. Yeah.
I feel that when I'm in New York, I feel like I really struggle to get a vegetable.
Interesting.
Like I mean, if you're not eating at people's houses, I feel like it's hard to get a vegetable. And then it's like, even if you are, I feel like a lot of times if I go to the grocery store, because I'm coming from not just California, but the Bay, right? So it's like the produce here, a lot of it is just so beautiful. We're really, really like spoiled in that way. And, I'm like, I'll go to look at, I'm like looking at a bundle of kale in like a grocery store in Brooklyn, and I'm like, I don't even like, I will because I have to, but like, do I want?
Yeah,
No, not especially like, so I feel inspired. So I feel like in New York, if you kind of have to, if you want like that level, you need to be going to the farmer's market or have a CSA box or be going to the co-ops.
totally. Yeah. Or you need to like, I hate to say it, but be really boring and just know like, okay, I can get this at my local grocery store and it's pretty good quality. And I guess I'll just stick with this for the next 3 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my New York meal of choice is pizza and a green juice because I'm like I always get green juices every time I see them when I'm in New York because I'm like I don't know if I'm gonna see a mineral again,
Oh,
like when the next time I might see a mineral is. So let me just
hilarious.
hit it while I
I
can.
love that. I love that. I love a good green juice too. And I have my favorite place, Grassroots in Greenpoint
Hmm.
slash East Williamsburg. But anyway, no, I feel you. That's hilarious. I love that combo.
It'll fix a lot of things. I'm like, this'll do it. Like a piece of pizza and green juice will do it. It's my hangover food too. Like
I'm here for it. Those are two delicious things. I'm obsessed with green juices. I go like on and off, like depending upon my budget, because they can be expensive.
super.
I go on and off. Like there have been periods where I will get like a green juice almost every day, but it's usually if I'm not drinking any alcohol or like I'm sacrificing something else to
Yeah,
be able to afford this expensive ass juice all the time.
I know. I have different, my two main pizza places in San Francisco both have a shop of the same juice chain next to them. So, and I'm very for
Mm.
pizza, I feel like there's different pizzas for different things. So it's like there's my like
Yes,
nighttime, like where I go get slices with my son if we're gonna do like pizza for dinner. And then there's another place that's more like my hangover pizza place. And then there's even like another place I would go if I had been like out drinking and I wanted a piece of pizza. Like I just feel like there's very specific pizzas for very specific purposes in my life.
I agree. I feel you.
Eliza wanted to know if you have some more ideas for cooking for one, like easy ideas for cooking for one.
Um, so I feel like it's important. Well, I don't know. It's important to know what you like, number
Mhm.
one, and to kind of make either a physical list or a mental list of like stuff you like. That can kind of form, that can be basic staples for you to build meals out of. So like for example, I'm thinking of the pasta salad you mentioned with canned salmon. I'm obsessed with fish wife,
Mhm.
their smoked salmon. So what I do is like I'll buy it, and it is a splurge, but like I'll buy the smoked salmon that comes in a can, and I'll build a salad to like accompany it slash complement it. And so I'm a big believer in, granted it is summertime and it's hot, but like I'm a big believer in salads because I think they're pretty easy to make for one. And it's very, because you're not cooking it, it's easy to scale because you're literally doing it by eye. You don't have to like measure anything. Um, I'm a big fan of doing stuff with pasta for one, like cook however much pasta you want and add a protein and like saute some vegetables and mix it all together with like either a store-bought sauce or like, get some good olive oil, saute some garlic, like make it interesting however you want it to taste, make it interesting, but like get your protein in there, your vegetables, your pasta. That's a meal. I'm a big fan of like fish and a few vegetables. I tend to go to a fishmonger or um sometimes I'll go to Trader Joe's and get like the pre-portioned salmon little thingies. Um and then just have like a couple of vegetables to go with that. It depends upon how, like, I also think it's really important to consider how much energy you have. Like, is this the kind of day or evening where you really only have enough mental energy to make food for 20 minutes? You know what I mean? Versus, are you going to roast a chicken for yourself, which can also be really fun, but is a little more time intensive. So, like, I think of what you like, make a list of it. Think of like your favorite proteins, your favorite vegetables, your favorite like carbs that would be pasta or rice or lentils or something like that. And kind of how can you combine those? You know what I mean? Like, how can you mix and match, throw in some vegetables and make it easy on yourself? I don't know if that's like a good answer, but that's literally how I approach
It's like your
meals when I'm,
mentality around cooking for one.
yeah, it's very much like mix and match protein. And I don't think in terms of protein, carb, vegetable, whatever, but I know I generally like to have some kind of protein. I always like to have vegetables, and things like pasta, rice, or lentils are kind of basic, easy things to cook for me. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Can we have a canned fish appreciation moment? Because
Yes, always.
also making that pasta salad with the like fishwife smoked salmon would really like that would be like the most elevated possible version, I think. Do
That's
you
how
have
I'm gonna make it.
yeah, it's gonna be really good, which is now I'm also gonna make it, but like a private stash, like just for me. I don't
Exactly.
like once you're like, okay, I mean, it is good. It's good to like teach kids, I think, to eat like high quality food and, for them to know like what good food tastes like so that they can like be attuned to that. Because I think like if you know what high quality food tastes like, you naturally make choices that lead you to eating food that is like real food.
Totally.
You're kind of like instinctually trained that way, which it sounds like you really were, um, growing up. But I might not share my fishwife pasta salad with the children. I don't know. I have to decide.
I don't blame you.
I don't know if they would appreciate it in the same way that I'm going to. I really like, I have not got on. I know the last like couple years there was like a really big trend, like tinned fish or canned fish like got really popular and that there's like, much more high level brands. But I grew up I mean, tuna, but then I feel like canned salmon and canned smoked oysters. My mom
Mm,
were like just things in our house that my mom would do things with. She would make salmon patties. She wasn't like my mom's a good cook, but she wasn't like a adventurous cook. She is more now. She really likes it, but in the 80s and 90s that was not what she was doing. She was just making it all happen. So, but she used to make salmon patties and I remember I really loved to eat the backbone out of the can of salmon. That was like my one of my favorite little treats that I would get when my mom was cooking that I really liked.
I love that. So my mom used to make salmon croquettes, and I was always fascinated that I could like bite the bone, and it
Yeah,
was
I
like
love it.
it was kind of, it wasn't squishy squishy, but it's like,
It's soft, crunchy.
yeah, such a
Mhm.
specific texture. And I was
Mhm.
always like fascinated, like, this is a bone? This is so weird.
Did she mix hers into the croquettes or she would pull it out and you would eat it separate?
No, it would be like in the croquettes. Yeah, she wouldn't pull it out. Because
Yeah.
also, at least the brand she got, it was these like little ones. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't like, it
No,
wasn't a
they're
rib
pretty, yeah,
cage.
they're
It was
pretty
just like
little.
the little ones. So it kind of, if anything, it kind of added texture to the croquette.
Yeah, that sounds good. Now I want to make that too. I feel like I'm getting inspired for my next set of things I want to make. Um, but do you ever eat smoked oysters in a can? I think I love them. I think they're delicious.
It's been ages. I feel like when I was a kid, more when I was a kid, less so recently, although in 2020, at a certain point, I was getting food fine, like I was not food insecure, but sometimes I would try to order groceries or like think it, it got a little hectic every now and again. And I told one of my food friends, and he literally, like, I think reached out to every company who was sending him food because he was like, I just got 5 rabbits and like, you know, practically he got all this food sent to him. He's like, I have 5 cases of salmon and like da da da. He's like, I'm gonna have him send it to you. So I got all this tinned fish. And I think smoked oysters or tinned seafood. Smoked oysters were among the 10. I got a lot of tins of food. So yeah, I feel like I had a moment in 2020 where that was on repeat.
Yeah, I like it. And honestly, because it's a childhood thing, I'm like a smoked oyster out of a can on a saltine cracker is like, that's the shit. I love it.
Yes.
But
Yes.
if I want
Oh
to
my
get fancy,
God.
sometimes I'll slice a little like red onion or something, or squeeze some lemon, but it doesn't even have to be any of that. It's so good.
Totally. Oh,
Um, do you have a vision for another book? I feel like I asked you that at your book event here, even.
I think I'm starting to get some ideas, but it's a little early in the process, so I'm not really talking about them because I'm still getting clarity of what what I'd like to what I envision,
Yeah.
like the vision isn't totally clear, but it's getting there.
Do you want to tell us some things like about the for the culture book? Like, I think that I hesitate to ask you like, what was your favorite interview and what was your favorite recipe? Because I know I love to be asked questions that are like not what I usually get asked. So I know that those are the
Yeah.
questions that I'm sure you get asked over and over, but um yeah, I mean, let's start with recipes because I feel like we're like in the recipe food. Is there a recipe, not even like your favorite, but just that you find that you cook more than the other recipes in the book?
One, I mean, on the topic of self-care, I consider dessert self-care because I like dessert. Um, so I do like my little like shortcake recipe just because I don't do that all the time. And if I'm being honest, I probably bake more in the colder months than in the summertime. But I like to make a little cake for myself. So that's one of my faves. Um, just because I think it's kind of hilarious to bake something for yourself that
Yeah,
you're,
I mean it's cool. I'm looking it up because I'm like, what is the cake that you make?
it's like a little butter cake. It's essentially kind of like if you were making, I would almost liken it to, um, like like a cupcake kind of, but it's not a cupcake, but it's kind of cupcakey or
Yeah, it's
like a cousin
shorter.
of,
So this is the picture. I'll show everyone. It's like these three kind of like very short cakes. There you go. Ha ha ha.
yeah,
And then
haha.
the whipped cream and raspberry. But I'm like, it almost made me think like, okay, like, almost like a scone or a biscuit, but they look much softer than that.
Yeah, it's really cakey. It's like a a cupcake meets a pound cake for one.
It's baked in ramekins or
Yeah, because I mean, the idea, since it's like a smaller portion, I mean, I wanted it to be bigger than a muffin tin.
yeah.
Like I wanted the size to be, yeah, like a little bit larger than what would come out of a muffin tin. Although you could probably use a muffin tin for that.
When you cook it for yourself, do you cook like one cake or is it, because I'm thinking like
It's
ramekins, do you cook multiple?
No, I literally will make one. Sometimes I'll make two, like if a friend is coming over or something. Um, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like it's a funny recipe for one that I enjoy making because I don't know, just for me, it's like one and done.
Does it feel like such a treat? I don't, it almost seems like it could be really fulfilling on an inner child level, like to be like, I am just making myself
Totally.
this little cake and then I'm gonna make it so pretty, by putting like fruit and whipped cream or whatever on it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like it's actually easier to make a cake for yourself than like one cookie for yourself. So, and it's a little more extravagant, but it's actually pretty simple too. So it definitely fulfills an inner child wish of like, haha, cake for me.
Cake only for me. Um,
Yeah.
what's your kind of favorite kind of cake? I'm a huge cake fan. I think if I had to like pick in a lineup, like if you could only have like cake, ice cream, cookies, candy, I don't even know what else goes on that list, pie. I think if I had to pick one that I could only have that one, I would pick cake. So I love cake.
I love cake too. I think I love cookies more than cake, but my favorite cake is like a good chocolate layer cake, or like the yellow cake with the chocolate
Yellow
frosting.
cake with chocolate frosting is,
That's top tier.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
like sprinkles on the outside? Like, do you like the little round? Like, I feel like I want the round. It makes talking about it makes me want those round, crunchy sprinkles like in my teeth. Um, how do you
I,
feel about
I
sprinkles?
like that. I like them. It depends upon who's making the cake. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the kind of cake that I'm most likely buying from a bakery.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not necessarily making that cake. So, depending upon where you know how different places do different things well, and some
yeah,
places, like, I know specifically, I'm thinking of one place, Amy's Bread, that does that cake really well, but theirs doesn't have sprinkles. But then there's another place in Soho that does have sprinkles, and theirs is really good. So
yeah.
it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you want it, I love that you said that because I'm definitely that person who's like, the thing I want from the place is whatever is the thing that they do the best. Like, I don't like it when people are like going to the taqueria and they're like, what's your order? And I'm like, whatever this taqueria makes, that's like the best thing that they make. That is the thing that I want. So please like use your discernment and bring me the best thing. I'm not
Totally.
like committed to, you know, my ex would just be like, no matter where we are, it's like carne asada, and it's like maybe we're complaining about it, maybe we're saying how good it is, but we're not like switching it up. But I'm like, no, I want
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah, okay. Yes. Yellow cake, chocolate frosting. I find chocolate cake, chocolate frosting to be, I mean, I'll do it, but it's like it feels like a lot. Like it's kind of like a really intense experience.
I 1000% agree. I once had to do this. Well, I didn't have to. I was asked to talk about cake. Oops. Um, I'm back.
Yeah,
I
we
was
got
asked to talk about cake for this show, Unique Sweets, and they sent me to specific places to eat specific cakes. And one cake was, I don't know, it was exactly that. It was a deep chocolate cake with chocolate frosting, and it was delicious, but it was a lot. It, just like you said, it was delicious, and I was intimidated before I ate it because I was like, this is so much. I enjoyed it, but I was like, this is the kind of cake you eat once every 5 years because you're not like, you're good. Like, I don't need this again. I
yeah.
enjoyed it. It was too much. I don't crave this because it's too much of the same, you
Yeah.
know?
Also, the texture, like the crumb structure of chocolate cake is so different, I feel like, from the crumb structure of a yellow cake. Like it's so much like softer often or like moister. Um, and I
Yeah.
think there's something about it I don't like crave in the same way texturally that like a yellow cake can really hit it. Like I could eat like a cupcake, a yellow cupcake with chocolate frosting. I feel like I could eat that like 3 times a week and be like, okay. I feel good about that.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would get sick.
totally. Yeah, some things you're just not like, I'm not going to crave a chocolate on chocolate cake. It's just, I'll eat it if somebody presents it to me, but
Totally.
that's something I'm not going to want frequently.
There's some dissent in the comments. We have loving chewy nutty brownies with icing, which is again the chocolate and chocolate, which although a brownie with frosting is different than chocolate cake with frosting, and I think I would go for the brownie over the cake. Also,
Yeah,
brownies
just
with
because I love
frosting reminds me
brownies.
of childhood.
Totally. I agree.
Because I feel like the frosting on brownies is usually almost like fudge. And
Yes.
that's a whole, I don't know. I'm like, when's the last time I had a brownie with like fudge icing on it? I really truly don't know. Like at a church potluck in the 90s. I don't know. Maybe.
That's a totally different category. Yeah. It's an
Um,
important category.
what's your favorite cake? So like for me, I have a cake. I get a Swedish princess cake for my birthday every year. And
Aw.
I love princess cake, but I'm like really happy to have it once a year. You know, I usually have
Yeah.
some left over and I'll put it in the freezer and I'll pull it out at some other point. Like, okay, now's the time that we're gonna eat it. But I'm like, I don't need it. So yeah, what's your favorite cake that's like you love it, but it's sort of like a special occasion cake?
Um, I actually think the cake with sprinkles is a little bit of a special occasion cake because for some reason, like a layer cake with frosting, I'm thinking I need that in the fall and winter. I'm not thinking about that cake in the spring and summer. It's just not on my list of sweets I want.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I feel like any layer cake with or without sprinkles is going to be like either a birthday treat or like a really happy wintertime occasion treat.
I grew up, my mom bakes a lot for she didn't like bake a lot at home, and I'm an only child, so there and for much
Yeah.
of my childhood there was only her also. So, in a single parent, single child house, there's not like a lot of like, let's bake for the household, but she would,
Yeah.
make things for things we were going to go to, or, she'd be that person who was like making a cake. She worked in the school system, so it was like it was somebody's birthday at work, or, they're having a potluck, or, whatever. She was always making, she made a lot of pies. She's like kind of
Ooh,
an iconic pie maker. Um, but little cakes as well. And I always notice I'm like, oh, I definitely do not bake like, in the same way that my mom did growing up. She was like a big baker.
that's awesome. I think that's really special. My mom was not a big baker. Like occasionally she would bake, but that wasn't her specialty.
That's how I feel about my mom and cooking. Like my mom can definitely cook, but she's not, she's like more of a baker for sure. Some people feel
That's
like it's like one or the other. Do you think that's true?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's definitively as a rule, it's always one or the other, but I feel like that's what I hear from people. Like I consistently hear, "Oh, my mom or my dad was into X," and it's very rarely for me, I very rarely hear someone say, "Oh yeah, my mom or my dad made X and Y." It's always
Yeah.
just like, you know what I mean? Like usually just savory or usually just sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, she does that hummingbird cake. Do you know hummingbird cake?
Yes.
That's kind of
Yes. I've
her
never made it, but
sheet cake that
yeah.
she'll make. And she does a lot, I think because she takes things a lot, she does a lot of like the 9 by 13, like, sheet cake, one layer with frosting that can be cut into little
Yum.
portions.
Yum. Oh my gosh. Wait, I'm just realizing I need to get my charger. I thought I had it right here.
You're
Hold
perfect.
on.
Yes,
Okay, one
absolutely.
sec.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
explain what hummingbird cake is to everybody.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
um it's kind of got carrot cake. It's kind of carrot cake-ish, like it's a spice cake, layer cake, but instead of carrot, it has mashed banana and like crushed canned pineapple. And then it still has the cream cheese frosting and like pecans in it. Um, oh, beautiful, Eliza. I want to see some of your daughter's cakes. Does she decorate them? Because I feel like some people make these like really fabulously decorated cakes. I have a friend in San Francisco who's also like a woman chef. This is a lady that's who trained in Paris. That's the name of her bakery, and she makes these like botanical cake, like just these unreal decorated cakes. They're like really truly fabulous.
Does she do like, are they for special events?
She does a lot of weddings, I think, and I mean they're like unbelievable. She has a little sales counter, like you can go buy little treats from her, but she does these like very elaborate cakes where people will tell her different flavors and sort of like a theme, and then she kind of just like riffs from there. They're really incredible. I love that Chihuahua.
That's awesome. Now I want cake.
I know, definitely, definitely. My first cooking memory is making pancakes for my mom, but apparently I like absolutely insisted that I would not follow the recipe. and I just like did it on my own. I was pretty little. I must have been like 4 or 5. And they were disgusting. Like I can remember because my mom was like, you don't have to use the recipe, but then you have to eat them. Like whatever they're like, if you're not going to use the recipe and you're going to use these ingredients, like you have to eat it no matter what. And I was like, okay. And then so I ate them and I remember exactly what they tasted like. They were
Oh
so
my God.
bad. But yeah, cakes has a special, always a special place. All
That's
kinds of cake.
hilarious.
I put a lot of whipped cream. I think she let me put a lot of whipped cream on them so I could like choke them down. They were so nasty. The other joke about me is that I would write cookbook or recipes as a kid. And
Hmm.
but all my recipes started you take a can of whipped cream and then it would be like whatever you do from there.
I love that. That would be the whipped cream cookbook.
Yes. So
That's
many
so
ways,
cute.
so many things to do with whipped cream. Um,
That could be your next cookbook, and it could be like a sexy cookbook,
yes, whipped cream.
Right?
a whipped cream cookbook.
I know it makes me think of Cardi B has the Whip Shots brand or the like alcohol whipped cream
Totally.
brand.
Mm.
Yes.
It could have been me. Who knows?
Still could be. Who knew?
I know we live so many lifetimes in this lifetime. I'm so curious what my next career will be. I feel like eventually I'll have another one and it'll be something like really weird like that.
That's awesome. I love that.
I say
I'm
I'm
here
gonna
for
get a
that book
van
type.
and be like a lady selling crystals out of a van. Like that'll be my next career. It sounds super low key.
It sounds relaxing.
Do you feel like you're gonna do like writing and cooking for the rest of your life? Like, does it feel really like, yeah, like this is who I am. This is what I know I'll be doing.
I think it's going to be a part of my life. I do also have a love for film and television, and I would love to, and I like studied screenwriting in college, and I would like to figure out how to write for the screen, and like use that medium. Um, so yeah, but I also would like to tell stories about food on the screen, like the big and small screen. So I feel like food is part of me, writing is part of me, but I there are other things I want to explore.
Yeah, I think it's good self-care, really even to like make sure that you get space for all the parts of you that want to be expressed.
Exactly. I 1000% agree. Yeah, I actually feel like this one of the nice things of like finishing a book project, like my book came out in September of 2023, is that like once you do kind of complete the initial promotional phase, like you kind of get to re-energize. But then there's also a phase where you're like, not just what next in terms of what other book project would I want to write, but also what other things do I want to explore in myself? Like what else am I curious about? Like what would be really fun for me to take a class on? Or you know what I mean? What do I want to learn right now? Um, and what am I just curious about right now? So I'm embracing that process.
Screenwriting is up. Is there anything else that's been like piquing your interest?
Kind of like I'd love to do something that doesn't involve writing. So like something more with the body, like I don't know if it's acting or performing in some other way. Like I used to take I feel like some people make fun of it, but I used to take improv classes just for the fun of it. And I would kind of love to go back to doing that, not to be a professional improv artist, but just I think there's something really fun about like expressing yourself or telling a story with other people using your body. And I really get excited about not being in front of a computer.
Yeah.
So there's also that. So yeah, I think I have to figure out what it is. Like, and some of it I think is just for play. Like when I take dance classes, it's really just for fun. It's not because I have the ambition to be a part of Alvin Ailey. It's just like I like music. I like to dance. I like to be in a room with music playing loudly and a lot of people. So, yeah.
Are you good at being bad at things?
Yes, I'm great at being bad at things.
Yeah, it's such a skill set.
Yeah. I have no, because I have made, I mean, I'm a human being, so like we all make mistakes, but I am very comfortable making mistakes. Yeah,
I think
I
that's
am.
beautiful. I think it's like a sign of like being really well loved, you know, to like be able to give yourself that grace. You know, it's like you have that skill set that you learned that like it's, you know, it's okay to make mistakes and like you are given grace and then like giving grace to yourself. I love that. I really admire that skill set.
Thanks. I think, like I think I've learned it from two things, but like I think the way you put it is really perfect. Like I think I know I've been loved by my parents, so that helps. Um I also used to ride horses when I was a kid competitively, and sometimes I would fall off before a competition like in the practice ring, and I repeatedly like 3, 4 times, and then I would nail it like because I was pretty good. And so I think that taught me a lot. And it wasn't just that, it was like other sports too. And just like being on, whether it's like the middle school musical or whatever, and like having the experience of making mistakes in front of people and the show going on, or nailing it. And like sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's you make some mistakes, but you're also nailing it. So yeah, that helps.
Very cool. Yeah, I think it makes play a lot more accessible, you know, if you're
Yeah.
fine with trying things out and like, you know, yeah, being bad at them because it's like it truly doesn't matter. Like you don't have any.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also realize like you're still here. It didn't kill you.
Yeah,
So that's
totally.
also a good thing.
Yeah. Um, since you've been listening to more music, feeling inspired by your friends' playlists, do you have a few like like what are you listening to? What are some songs that you really like?
So I just started, okay, 3 things. They're all kind of new to me. Um, One is an artist, I think her name is Nilufer Naya or Nilufer Yaya. I've been listening to her album that I think came out in 2022. I think it's called Pain Free. I learned about her. I follow this woman on Instagram. I think her handle is Marg MP3, like MARG dot MP3. I think that's her handle. And she does these great music rundowns of like, these are all the albums I'm listening to. And I really like her taste in music, and she is the person who turned me on to Nilofer and specifically the album Pain Free. So I've been listening to that. On the train ride, I was listening to, is it Yusef Lateef? And John Coltrane. I also have been listening to, like last night, I got into listening to Jasmine Sullivan, like really good, her album Hotels, which is like a really good R&B album. And
It's
so
a
like,
really good album, which, you know, there's such a difference between like an album that you want to listen to the whole album and it's really good
yes,
album versus like you like some
yeah,
songs. And I feel like Hotels is like you can listen to the whole thing and really feel like, yeah. you want to listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a specific hankering for her voice. I was like, I want to hear somebody who can sing. And I think she is a singer. And I love the storytelling in that album. And I just think it's great. And so yeah, I literally was listening to that and loving it last night. Um, what else? I have a friend, her Instagram handle, oh man, it's like girl GURL something. And she has a really great playlist that she puts out every like, I don't know, the second Monday of every month. And her playlist, I can send you the link. Her playlist for this month is so fire. It's so good. It's got like Brazilian funk, it's got hip hop, it's got, Tanashi, I've been a nasty girl. It's not that song, but it's another song because I haven't listened to all of her music. I've just been
I used to
obsessed with
have a
Nasty
roommate
Girl.
who was obsessed with Tinashe and was like really obsessed with like how underrated she is in like 2000, like
Yes.
2020 in the lockdown. So I'm acquainted. Yeah.
Yes. So like some of her music is on there, but it's just this nice, like, it's a great playlist because I have an eclectic sense with music. And this playlist, it's like hitting all the notes. We've got hip hop, we've got R&B, we've got Brazilian funk, da 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 da. So I've been listening to a lot of playlists, and then like I'll go in on like D'Angelo or yeah.
Jasmine Sullivan does Let It Burn, right? You know that song? That I think that's
Yes.
like I feel like I can't
Oh,
always listen to it. That song can really like elicit some like really strong feelings in me. So I'm like, it's not the
totally.
song for all the time, but like when it is the song, it's a song I'll listen to over and over and over.
Exactly. Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel like I'm in uh a discovery phase. Like I'm very much interested in finding out what other people are listening to because I'm happy to listen to the same thing over and over again for like a month. And I'm now trying to sprinkle it in with either, oh, I used to like Jasmine Sullivan. I used to love listening to hotels. Let me put it back on, or like dipping back into the crate.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to mix it up. Like, what are other people listening to, and what are some of my faves that I haven't heard in like the past 3 to 4 months?
When we have these slumber parties, I try to make a playlist to go with them. And so I
Aw.
was like, okay, I'm gonna make like a kitchen one, which I think it hasn't been sent out, right? When it goes with like the follow-up email.
I sent it out.
Okay.
Definitely go out with the follow-up email.
But it was really fun to, because I kind of went on Spotify, like, I'm gonna make a playlist that's about food, which is not like something
Mhm.
I've done before. And then it was like fun to have a really narrow focus because I couldn't
Yeah.
just go to songs that I already know and like. I mean, there was like one or two
Yeah.
where I was like, okay, this and this, but I really had to be like, just have such a narrow pick of like what I could pick from. It was really kind of fun. And I feel like I listened to some songs by artists that I like that I wouldn't have necessarily listened to that song or been like fixated on that song if it didn't have this food, aspect that I was picking out about it. So I thought that ended up
Yeah.
being a really fun creative project. And it made me kind of want to like try to make playlists for really narrow topics because it was a cool thing to do.
I love that.
Yeah, I liked it. And I was like, oh, a lot of artists that I like have these like food songs, that I like didn't
Yeah.
think about really.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. I want to get in. I make playlists for like going to the gym, but I want to make more just playlists that are enjoyable for different vibes?
Yeah, I have a couple that I've made more in the context of like when I teach or something and we're journaling, like I have my kind of like journaling songs or, you know, chill songs. But I realized, yeah, same when I am just kind of wanting a playlist around, I'll usually like think of a song. I think we've all gotten like used to utilizing like, I guess it is AI even to say like, oh, this is a song I want the vibe of, like play me a playlist off of this vibe. And I don't do that much of it
Yeah.
for myself. Whereas my son like never wants to listen to anything new. He's very like, I have a playlist for like when I want to do this, like these are my songs. And when I want to do this, like these are my songs, and they're all very kind of like distinct energies. Maybe it would be
Yeah.
good to, I don't know, maybe more playlists is on the agenda.
They're kind of fun. Like I sometimes think of them when I'm not making one, I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of a chore. I don't feel like doing it. But then when I do set aside the time to make a playlist, it's like, oh, this is actually fun. Like I'm just picking music I like or music that I think I would like. And then when you think about like the different moods that music can inspire, that's such a nice way to spend your time. Like, oh, I want to be in this mood, or I want to like, you know, express this mood or provoke or evoke this mood. What song? Like, it's a fun exercise. So I want,
So
I, now
cooking,
that we're,
cooking
yeah,
playlist.
Yeah.
yeah,
Solo play, cooking on your own, or whatever.
yeah,
Fun playlist
yeah.
for people, to cook to.
I should totally do that. I'm
I
into
love it.
it.
I'll download it. I love that. Yeah.
Nice. Yay. Okay. I'm going to think about this because it's genuinely fun.
Yeah, I love it when people make playlists and send them to me. Or I like going on Spotify. I like the vibe of this. What else? I
Yeah,
discover all this new music that I like that's in my realm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
used to make a lot of actual mixtapes, like cassette tape
Hmm.
mixtapes, until I actually tried to make one like a couple months ago, but I have like lost a few steps. I had this very analog way of doing it. Well, it's digital, but it was like really like stepped out where I would like, even until maybe 6 years ago, I would like um convert YouTube files into MP3s because it's like you can find all kinds of crazy stuff on YouTube. And then I would burn a CD on my computer, and then I would put it in a boombox and make a mixtape out of it. And I would send them to people. It was like a romantic thing. Like if I had a crush on someone, I would make them a
Oh,
cassette tape until like, 2019 probably. Um, because I love it. I love mixes always.
that is the sweetest gesture.
People don't know. I feel like it does. It's like special. It's very like physical, you know?
That is such a sweet gesture and so like retro in the best way. Oh my gosh, I honestly would say that's better than making a cake. Like that is huge.
Totally. Totally. I love it.
A
Um,
cake with a mix.
a cake with a mix.
That's like
That would win me over.
cherry on
That'd
top.
be like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're in.
I
You're
have to
in.
be honest, I have like really good game. Like I have game for days. So if I like really want someone, I'm talking to your mom. I'm making you a mixtape from scratch. Like I'm an excellent gifter. Like I really can like hit it hard and reel it in.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Wait, what's your sign?
I'm an Aries with an Aries Venus and an Aries Mars. So I'm
Oh,
just
wow, you're a
like
go-getter.
I'm a go-getter.
Okay. You're like there's a picture of you under go-getter.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay, got it.
I think so. What's your signs?
I'm a Capricorn sun, Aquarius rising, Cancer moon.
I love a
Yeah.
little Aquarius. I have an Aquarius moon.
Yay. We
Beautiful.
love Aquarius energy. My mom was Aquarius. I think a Leo moon or Leo rising, or maybe Leo moon and Leo rising. But yeah, she's my favorite Aquarius.
Beautiful.
Um, yeah. Oh my gosh, you got a lot of air. Wow. Okay.
No, I have a lot of Aries. I know. But
You
I'm grateful for the Aquarius, and I have a Scorpio rising because honestly, there has to be they're both those are really cool energies.
yeah.
Well, Scorpio is debatable if we want to call it a cool energy, sort of like a underground fire, like a
Yeah,
volcano or something. I don't know.
anything could happen.
Anything could happen. But I feel like they kind of mellow out the Aries a little.
Yeah, that's a good combo.
Where can we find you? Like, what are you doing right now that you want our eyes on?
Oh, that's so nice. What am I doing now? Well, I this summer I've been doing a picnic project. Um, that it's but that's like an in real life thing in Brooklyn where I throw picnics like once a week or once every 2 weeks. And so that's just been a fun thing I've been doing. I feel like I need to come up with a newsletter or something that I don't have one of those. But what am I doing? I mean, I feel like I'm doing a lot, but uh I'm not sure if it's like the book is out there.
Yeah,
In terms
definitely.
of
We're linking that for sure. It's so
yeah,
beautiful. It's like all these interviews and portraits. I mean, it's just like it, like we said, it is a cookbook. There is recipes, but it's just an incredible coffee table book, an incredible like cultural document. It's really like pleasurable, and I feel like you can get inspired about food from it in a way that like might inspire you to like go make your own recipe, or just get it excited about a little snippet of an idea rather than always needing to go to it for a recipe.
yeah. Nice. That's a good summary of it. Yeah, it's a book I wish I would have had when I was just starting out in food because I always thought, if you go to culinary school, then you become a chef and that's it. And the whole book, the point of it is talking to bartenders and talking to pastry chefs and talking to food writers and talking to food stylists and the whole gamut of people who are in the hospitality world and learning about their stories and what they have done, would do differently, advice they would give. And then I also wrote essays on culinary matriarchs who are no longer living. And then, I asked people to contribute recipes. So there's something for everyone in it.
Beautiful. Well, I hope everybody goes out and gets this beautiful book for the culture, phenomenal Black women and femmes in food. Yeah, it's just it's a pleasurable book to hold. It's like it feels good, it looks good. Everything about it is so lovely. Is there
Thank
any
you.
last thoughts you have that you wanna impart, wisdom, just takeaways?
This has been so delightful. This has been like really fun. Last thoughts. I hope everyone's having a good summer and just I think what I've realized, or like, I don't know if this is wisdom, but just I have found uh myself really trying to quiet myself and like enjoy the moment because I don't know. I have felt that this year has been kind of stressful.
Okay.
So, um, and it's been really nice to have, I think that's what has been nice for me this summer is just like having moments with friends in parks, having moments like with music, having moments outside of just being present and like in the moment enjoying whoever I'm with, whatever it is I'm doing. And I'm like, and also really hoping that other people are also doing that because I feel like we all need a break. We all need like, I don't know, some kind of nourishing moments. I don't know if that's wisdom, but that's
Yeah,
my hope
no,
for
it is
myself and
wisdom.
everyone.
It is
Yeah.
wisdom because, I've thought about it this summer. This is the second summer I'm doing this sexy self-care summer, and I originally just created it because know like working with people in money for 10 years, I'm like, most people really do not want to do money work in the summer. They just,
Mm,
I mean, some people, there's somebody who always is, and people have small businesses and whatever, we just kind of have to, but most people don't want to really think about it. So I was kind of like, okay, how can I stay in touch with people? How can I keep people connected um to the self-care that I'm usually so dedicated to in this financial sense, but kind of just be like, how can we still stay in touch with ourselves, and how can I stay in touch with my community and do something a little different? But this year the backdrop is more blatantly bleak. We're in a genocide, we're in this really intense election year, there's all these things, and I've just been like, okay, what is the place of this, like, this kind of like fun, what is the place of like sexy self-care, which can sound really flippant in the context of this, and to also be like, is that something I still want to be doing? um but the more I thought about it and kind of like lived with it over the summer, it's become so clear to me the way that, like, we absolutely need nourishment. Self-care is like completely vital. It's um sometimes more vital than ever,
Mhm.
and that it's about, like, I was like, what do I mean by like sexy self-care? I'm like, I mean like vitality, like
Mm.
living into your aliveness, and like living fully
Mhm.
into our aliveness is um it's I'm not going to say it's the ultimate, but it's such a huge important act in the midst of like culture, which I really feel like we are living in
Mm.
a death cult, so and not in a like beautiful, nourishing, acknowledging, full circle of life way, but um just so much like destructive energy all the time. So I'm like, being alive, like celebrating aliveness. And I just think
Yeah.
like there's no better way to do that than like living into the fullness of every moment, which is, I feel like, what you're trying to live into this summer, just being like, I'm gonna just be alive and really witness that and like stretch into it in every moment.
Yeah, I love that line you said, living into your aliveness. Like that's so huge. It's really, really, really important.
Yeah, agree. Thank you so much for your inspiration and your
You're
gifts, sharing them
welcome.
with us, spending some time chatting with me. I really had fun, like, getting to know you a little better, and I'm sure everybody else did too, and I'm sure everybody who will listen in the future will feel the same way. Megan said this is a really good feel-good night, and KT said, as a farmer and writer, this convo was so meaningful. Thank you so much.
Aw, thank you for having me and thank you all for joining. And I agree, I feel good too. So thank you. This was
I know,
like a
me
really
too.
sweet treat. Yay.
Beautiful. Okay. Good
Yay.
night, everybody. Oh my God, don't lick my face. Okay. Good night.
Night, night. Take care. Okay.